Welcome to The Prize Inside. A chiropractor's journey in everyday holistic health and vitality. Here, your host, Dr. Jeremy Myers, delves into the remarkable journeys of everyday people who have embraced the path to health and healing. Through his practice, Dr. Jeremy encounters inspiring stories of profound transformation and the power of true healing within each of us. Stay tuned as we discuss various holistic topics and unlock the healing potential that lies within us all.
All right. Hello, everybody. Hopefully everyone can hear me well. I think so. It's good. Welcome, everybody, to the Prize Inside, the 1% Tribe edition on a Sunday night. I'm kind of excited about our topic tonight, making sure, I think my mic is looking good. So, yeah, we're good. All right. Let me check one. Okay. All right. Here we go. I know I had a little bit of microphone issues last time, but tonight we're going to talk about balance situation. So, and I am getting a haircut. I promise you. I promise it's going to happen. So we're going to be looking at balancing the human body, because one of the things that has occurred over time is that we've really started to understand, in chiropractic world, you have what they call chronic low back, chronic neck, chronic upper back, a lot of chronic different conditions that will happen in there. Does anybody see over my shoulder? There's a dog on a couch. That's hilarious. So as we go, what happens a lot of times is there's a lot of things that you have to do to get these imbalances undone. And one of the things in our 1% tribe is we're always constantly looking for ways to improve things that are chronic, out of place, those kind of things. In chiropractic, remember, we're always looking at thoughts, toxins, trauma, right? Everything that we believe, because we believe in deductive logic. So deductive thinking of the human body is you are perfection. And from that perfection, something has to interfere with that perfection to cause the problem. Now, so when you look at the human body that way versus here's the condition and we're just going to fix that condition, a lot of times it leads you down the very big rabbit hole of why, right? Why are these things happening? And so a lot of times tonight we're going to be discussing that in a lot of different ways. Hopefully you guys will really enjoy it. I'm going to do quite a few little jaunts of YouTube videos and stuff like that. But let me get this out of the way. Sorry. Did not mean to do that. All right, my playlist. Okay, view it. Okay. So there we go. So I got that all set up. The big thing is like tonight, understanding the role that this is going to be. So we're going to kind of walk through that and then start looking at the various ones that we can do like every day and change your entire perspective. So today before we start, I want to talk about the 3 things I kind of found this week. Usually Dr. Mercola, if you haven't subscribed to Dr. Mercola of some way, email, his website brings in the ton of information that anyone that would want to watch the 1% Tribe would really find interesting. And so, I mean, just hundreds of articles. So I always look for the latest and greatest like that week and then see if there was a lot this time. This week, there was quite a few, but I only picked 3 and then we kind of go into that. I'm going to actually add a podcast where I kind of break down each article as well, because some of those are just fantastic. And I do a little hit here, but they really deserve more justice, actually describing it in the chiropractic philosophy. So one thing that we talk about at the office all the time is where do you start? And this is one of those interesting ones of where do you start with fixing your nutrition or your health in general. And these were found to be the 6 most common vitamin deficiency of the human body in America. So these are the 6 most common vitamin deficiencies that if we can start there, we might be able to get us beyond that point of maybe needing this, right? So the 6 most common, and all of them are going to be like, oh, wow, definitely. So vitamin D, obviously, we talk about that a lot. Vitamin A, vitamin E, vitamin C, and then here's two ions, but magnesium and calcium. So vitamin A, D, E, and C. So you could say like CADE, CADE, right? And then magnesium and calcium. Those are the major deficiencies. One that's coming up pretty quick that you can see is vitamin K2 and potassium. So vitamin K2 and potassium are starting to get up that where they're becoming a deficiency as well, because as our food situation keeps getting more and more processed, the more and more we're going to have issues with getting all these vitamins in there. Another one that I found today that was kind of a shocking one, because I'm like, no, that can't be an issue. And then I'm reading, I'm like, this article is like, whoa, makes you think a lot. So microplastics are becoming a huge problem. So microplastics in our diet and in our food sources has become more and more of a problem. Very hard to find, maybe not necessarily show you up as toxicities, but over time they do. And what they found is these microplastics, and we'll talk about what those are. Microplastics are being found in the ovaries and testes. And because of these microplastics being so profound in those areas, we're having problems with fertility, right? So one of the reasons this happens is the container situation that we have. Some of our clothing, a lot of these different situations. So the best 3 ways to decrease your microplastic situation is through filtering your tap water. Oh, hang on. I want to make sure I get to here. Okay, cool. Filtering with the tap water. Wear more natural fiber clothing. So making sure that your clothing's pretty good, and made of good organic materials. And food containers, when you microwave, that can be a huge situation. Food containers, when we microwave, can lead to getting more of those microplastics in your food. So those are some major ones that you can start now and start getting rid of those, because microplastic in your body is probably not a great idea in general. You know what I mean? So that one's interesting. And then this article popped up that I really, really liked, something I didn't know. So niacinamide. Niacinamide is also vitamin B3. Vitamin B3 just had a huge study on, and it's been known for a little bit, but it might be the best vitamin for skin cancer and skin-related conditions on the outside, such as like acne and those kind of things. So you can take too much of niacinamide, of course, but the big thing is like you can actually, this could be a really good, you can take it as a topical, you can take it as an oral, could be really good for skin cancers and those type of situations. And it's a vitamin. So B3, that's nice. You're definitely going to need that situation. Okay. So there is those. So I will hopefully, and please, if you're watching, throw a little comment in there. I had a blast last time when we were doing that. So today we're going to do kind of a walkthrough on, let's see. So we're going to I'm going to share my screen, I believe. I think this is how I did it last time. All right. Maybe. Present. Extra camera. Slides. I don't want slides. Okay. So we're going to share the screen. Okay. We're going to do it. All right. So we're going to go through these. Well, before I do that, actually, we need to talk about this. So So one of the things that tonight's all about, completely all about, is about the balance between two sides. Okay, so one of the reasons this brought up, one is I'm studying this other one. Super fan, Jessica, said I'm researching the best practices for screen time is one of our one videos. But this week, I really learned. I had a patient come in that had a significantly shorter hamstring on one side to the other, and that led them. And so this is a patient that had heard of us through a massage therapist that had moved away. And she said, "Hey, have Jeremy come take a look at this," because this kid, he had chronic pain all the time. We're not there yet with the kid yet, but when I met him, I looked at his spine, I looked at his vertebrae, I did all those things, X-ray, all those, and I'm feeling around, and everything feels relatively normal. So for a kid in his probably 20s to have like chronic low back pain every time you're standing up just didn't make sense to me. And so we start poking around a little deeper because I was like, there's got to be something going on, because the X-ray didn't really show this massive, excuse me, this massive amount of situation there. So as we were taught, like as we were doing it, we go through and I start to I lay him on his back and I start to do a hamstring stretch. Well, one leg's pretty good. It's tight. It's like an old man tight. So didn't like that part. But the other leg was almost like I couldn't get off the actual bed that we were using. So, our chiropractic bed, I was just laying somebody on their back and I lifted his leg up and he could not hardly do that. And so to me, that explained everything. So he had some kind of damage, we're not sure how, to a hamstring muscle years ago. And when that hamstring muscle is not treated correctly, all of a sudden you get this imbalance. Okay. So in your mind, we'll start with the low back. When you have muscles on one leg versus the other, they're independent of each other, right? If one is working in a tight fashion, let's say you have a tight hamstring on one side and the hamstring on the other side is not equally as tight, you will end up having an imbalance that occurs in the pelvis. Now, sometimes in pelvis, vertebrae above, all those kind of things. Now, sometimes this imbalance is because of the vertebrae above that, right? So it's the spinal misalignment, where it leads to the nerve irritation, which leads to nerve problems in those muscles, right? Well, once you discover that there's an imbalance in between both sides, what'll occur is every time that person utilizes that hamstring and starts to do walking, one is tighter than the other. When you're asymmetrical from one side to the other, your spine will have to adapt to that to allow you to do the movement pattern that you want to do. Okay. And so because of that, one of the easiest, by far, one of my favorite things to tell people to do is to stretch, but not stretch in a manner that we care about getting more flexible. I know that sounds crazy, but we are going to stretch to get even for be symmetrical on either side. So if your goal is to never, do the split, I don't really care about that. I care about you. I really want your goal to have equal hamstrings, equal all these other muscles that we're going to talk about tonight, because once that equalness starts to occur, the chronicity of low back pain starts to go away, or there's neck pain, or you can do or on all these kind of things. So that's one thing to think about, as we're going through this journey. It's not about, and this is not about just having a huge stretching routine where it's like 2-3 hours. I'm talking, I do that every day. 5 seconds, 5 minutes. I don't care what it is. You have to evaluate yourself, do it a self-evaluation of how your body's doing from one side to the other. Okay. So my hope is tonight, this will make sense as we're walking through, because I don't want to run a bunch of videos. I just want to show you the movement pattern that I'd like you to try. And then once you try it and go, whoa, my right side, but don't think of it as, ooh, I'm tight over here. Say my right side is tighter than my left. So now I have to convert my right side to make my right even to my left, if that makes sense. So hopefully this will make a little sense to you tonight. It's a game changer if you figure it out. So that's what I'm hoping for all of us. All right. So here we go. We're going to start with, I'm going to try to keep these muted. Okay, there we go. Because all I want to do is show you the movement pattern. Okay. So this is a very interesting, it's a belt strap. Okay. So in this situation, you can use a belt, you can use a rope, anything you want to. But what she's doing is just doing a hamstring stretch with the assistance of a like a strap there. And so what we want to do is do this every morning, right? You can do this in bed if you want to. But what you're going to do is do one side to the other. Now she's using it a little bit different. She's turning it to the side. I don't even care if you do that portion. You want to do up and then do the other leg. Your goal is to see which one is different, okay, from the other. All right. So here's another one. It's very simple. You can just do it on your bed. The biggest thing is just this strap. It's very simple. Having some kind of strap helps a lot, as you do these things. And you're just trying to stretch it. Now, with this video, she's actually getting a flex out of, or stretch out of her calf as well. And so that's something that we really, really want to kind of concentrate on. You could, once you get good at it, why not flex your foot and that, right? So that could be a huge, huge gain as far as that goes as well. All right. So those are those two. All right. So now we're going to go into a couple other muscles that are a little different than the old hamstring there. Okay. This is called the piriformis. Okay. So what she's doing currently is she's crossing her leg over, and these are things that you can do in your bed as well. You can actually use a strap like you did before and kind of hook. Once you see where she stretches to, then you'll see how this kind of works, because a lot of people do this one very incorrectly. They try to just push on that knee that's bent, and that doesn't work, so it might, but it doesn't. You're going to see what she does that makes it a lot different right there. So you would try to bring your leg up, use a strap around that leg, the other leg that's not bent in that weird position. You're trying to bring that to your chest at that point. What it gets is this muscle in your butt, your hip area. That is, it gets super tight just in a lot of people that have standing jobs. So that is a fantastic exercise to do. And as of this, after this one, there she goes. Now you can grab there. A lot of people can't really grab that position. You can even do that if you'd like to, but all you're doing is warming it up, man. You are not trying to become super stretchy person. All right. So we'll stop there for just a second, and then we'll talk about those. So those two, if you did nothing else tonight, if you watch this tonight at some point and you did the hamstring one and the piriformis one, those two would get you in a situation where your low back will be a lot freer, right? And so, but remember, we're not worried about the stretch getting a good, I'm really flexible on my right side. And then you go to your left side and it's not as good. That's what we're looking for. So it's really worth the time that you would take to get into, where we're balancing those both out. So the rule is, if I have a tight, let's use this general rule. If I have a tight hamstring on my right side and my left side is not as bad, what I do in the morning is a 5 to 10 breath hold of a hamstring on both legs. Okay. So from there, though, I would go back a second time on the right leg because it's tighter, right? So that's day one. The second time you do it would be, let's say, day two. So day two, or you could do it twice in a day. As short of a time frame as you're stretching is all you really need to do. So then the second time you do it, you're going to do 2 to 1, but you're evaluating both legs every day. Is my right hamstring as tight as my left still, right? If they get to the point where you can't tell the difference, you are gaining. And that goes for that piriformis as well. Almost everybody that I know has one of these imbalances. Okay. So one of these imbalances is present, and the more you can do, the better. And the piriformis is the same way. It's like 5 or 10 minute 5 or 10 breath hold. See how it's doing. If your right piriformis is tighter, then you do that one twice. You do the first one once. Hopefully this is making sense, because that will get you really, really far. Okay, so now we're going to go back into present. And for those that listen to my podcast, hopefully I will walk you through a piriformis muscle stretch. Is basically you're laying on your back, you bend both knees, you take one leg over the other, and then you take the knee that you haven't done that with, almost like you're crossing your legs, laying down, and then you bring that knee up to your chest. Okay. Hopefully that makes sense. I'm going to go into another one for your low back that I really, really like, called the iliopsoas. So the iliopsoas is a muscle a lot have not heard about. However, it is okay. So the iliopsoas is a deep, deep muscle that's actually attached to your lumbar spine and your pelvis and your hips. So you have this big, huge muscle like within you. Kind of think underneath your stomach, like all the internal organs. Something it's really hard to get at, this type of muscle. And so a lot of times this one, if you can figure out a good way to stretch it on your own, it can be a game changer for the entire lumbar spine. So the iliopsoas is one that we can kind of watch. Now, if you watch this guy do it, he's going to lean forward right there. So you get on one knee, and then you're kind of just driving your hip forward. If you can see how his hip is, that's kind of where you're going to get a good iliopsoas stretch. Very, very difficult to do. There's a few different ways to do this one, but this could be one of those. Okay, so I showed you 2 when you're in bed. You don't even have to get out of bed. You've taken 40 breaths so far, right? Now we're on to this one where you can do this right out of your bed and sitting and laying there, or, like having put your knee on the ground, like you're kneeling, and then you're leaning that pelvis forward. And then you're going to try to drive your body backwards, like you're extending your head over your knees. Okay, so that was pretty simple. Now we will go to this one. This is kind of the iliopsoas, if this is a little more advanced now, where we're basically balancing, but we're getting that thing tight up into that area. These are harder than they look, folks. This is when you get super advanced if you want to, where you're pulling, and you see, if you can kind of imagine that move, let's see if I can get it right there. So if you can kind of imagine that move when he's pulling with that resistance band, where is it getting tight, right? It's underneath your abs. It's like all that. And that's why that hits that iliopsoas so well. So well. So these are more advanced ones for that lower back. But if you hit the hamstring, piriformis, iliopsoas on a regular basis, very consistently, you will be shocked at how good you'll actually feel. In fact, these are ones that I haven't added to as much as I should, and I'm going to add it to my daily routine every single time. So that one's a pretty good one. And this is not even a nice one. It looks easy, but it is not. So it's another way of using a cheap resistance band to get those internal body flexors in there, for the iliopsoas there. Okay. So the iliopsoas, maybe I can find a image that might help. Oh yeah. Here we go. Okay. So I'm going to try to show my screen again. Show you what we're talking about. Image of the iliopsoas. Okay. So the iliopsoas muscle, let's get it big. All right. Let's see. Okay. So this one's a pretty decent shot. So this is the iliopsoas. You can see how it's attached and how it would become a problem if one vertebrae, one of these were different than the other. If one of these is tighter than the other, folks, you're going to have some major low back issues going forward, especially if you go and use your spine for whatever reason. That's going to be a thing, right? So just remember that as we go, what the iliopsoas is. Okay. Now we're going to go up into, let me get into that. So now we're going to go up into the upper back stuff. So I'm going to show you a few different ones on the upper back. What we want to do, and these by far are not, just everything, but you can have the same type of imbalance occur between your shoulders, right? Between your shoulders, your rib cage, your shoulders, your neck, the same exact thing. Everything, once you get that symmetry off whack, then we have issues in putting it back to where it needs to go. And so just by learning some of these little tiny stretches, I'm telling you, you'll feel better than you ever have in just these. You know what I mean? So I do a lot more of these. I should do more iliopsoas, piriformis, and hamstrings per day. I do a lot of these during the day, during my routine in the morning as well. So we're going to go into these, and these are for that upper back situation, because that's becoming a major issue anyway, for our population, because we love looking down at screens, and that is a problem. All right. So let's start with the simplest one I love is this pec stretch one. All right. So the pec stretch. All right. Very simple. Getting into the door and just stretching it out, right? Stepping into the door and getting that thing stretched out. So basically, for those on the podcast version, your hands are up like you're going to get arrested inside a door jamb, and then you are holding that for 5 to 6 seconds. Now, the difference between what I would like you to do is feel the difference in between each one. It will tell you, which one do I need to work more to as far as flexibility. Is your right tighter than your left? Feel those things. This type of stretching isn't about just the magic of the stretch. It's about the self-awareness you're gaining from the knowledge you're getting. Okay. So very simple pec stretch. Everybody does it in a door. However, I want you to look at it in a different perspective. Feel the self-awareness. Feel what the difference is between the two. Okay, so this one, let me look up. Oh, I'll do. Let me bring this. Okay, let's get into the levator scap. Before we start this one, let me show you what this one is. What is this? Oh, okay, that's sorry guys. I think I'm like genius with this stuff sometimes. Levator. Okay, so I'm gonna get an image of the levator scapula. I want to show you this whole thing. Let's see if I can do it. Okay, so the levator scapula is a muscle that attaches to the top part of your neck, so your upper neck, and it goes all the way down to your shoulder blade. So as we're doing this stretch, this is a very common one to be chronically overused. Okay, so these are getting bigly overstretched from one side to the other because of what we call our forward head posture. And so, because of that forward head posture, we have to start doing some things to, start taking care of these things. So, this is called the levator scapula stretch. Very simple. I have a couple different options for this. And she is going to, what you're going to see is she's going to get her shoulders back in a good posture. You put one hand behind your back. Okay. So either one, as we're sitting for the podcast, you're going to turn towards the neck or towards the side, your head towards the side that your hand's behind your back. And then you grab your occiput in the back. So behind your ear, you're going to take your other hand behind your ear and you're going to stretch that. And it feels incredible, like once you release that. Okay, so I just did it myself just because it happens. So as you're doing that, you're watching this stretch occur. And that one is a fantastic one, but it's that levator scapula. Remember the word levator scapula. That is a good one. All right. So now we're going to go into the suboccipital. So the suboccipital area is very good. Okay. Okay, so the suboccipital are these little dudes, all these little muscles that cause those headaches that no one understands what's happening. These little muscles, they're so intricate and so good at what they do that a lot of times these are where a lot of your chronic migraine headaches, your tension headaches, a lot of different just neck injuries in general. These little muscles do such a fantastic job of rotating your head in so many different various positions, but they also need to get stretched once in a while. And this is another one I do pretty well in my little routine. Well, this guy, he's going to show you a stretch that's really good. It's kind of weird looking, but you're not doing this in front of people to make sure. So see how he's jammed? So he pushes his head all the way as far back as he can on his shoulders, okay? And then he's going to try to get it as far back as he can. And you're going to pull up on the back side of your head as well. And so then as you push in and you pull up on your occiput, you can actually get a stretch there. You can actually get a stretch turn in either direction. And it's really, really good stretch. Now, there's a lot of ways to do that. So make sure. I mean, I just generally did, these occiput stuff very simply. So here's another one. This one is the trapezius muscle. So this is a little bit above the levator scapula. It's almost in the same location, but it's a much bigger muscle. So your trap, everybody knows from your trapezius muscles. And this is very simple. And you just grab. So you're just essentially grabbing your head and turning sideways while making sure your shoulder doesn't come up. So you're grabbing. When you grab, a lot of times kind of go underneath, like behind the ear when you're stretching that guy out. Okay. And you kind of do it on both sides very nicely. And remember, as we go through these, let's have her finish that one up. And as you go through each and every one of these, they seem simple, but we're looking at different ways. I want to add one more to it before I stop the share, because this I'm noticing a ton of issues. So we're going to talk about the shoulder for a minute. So the shoulder is one of the reasons a lot of these neck issues are happening, because we do not do enough flexibility in our shoulders. We kind of let that happen as the day goes on. And these shoulders have so many intricate muscles in there. We have to start getting better shoulder mobility. And the only way to do that is by like doing some type of stretching every single day. Okay. So this is one I do in the morning. That one's a really good one. If you can't do it that far, you get down on the floor and you try to rotate it. Okay. And then you can get real crazy with some weights, and then get even further in that. Okay. So here's another good one. This is called the wall slide. This one, you would be stunned at how many people cannot do this. And it's okay. But it's hilarious how these different things. Standing is actually easier. And as they go down, level 3 on the ground is really tough. That's a really good one as well. These are all about rotation of that humerus. We want to be as good as we can in that shoulder joint itself. Right? Cool. All right. So I think I have burnt you out on stretches. This one's going to be good because I want you guys to go back and watch it. Remember, we are on Rumble. Oh, I got ooh, Bradford's here. Good. I like it. Remember, if you missed any, make sure you go back because we have it on YouTube or Rumble. So those two have the recording a lot of times, or sign up for our Substack. I'm getting up there on that too. So the Substack allows you an email. You can get a Substack app, and all of the videos will be there as well. So any of these, I just love giving this knowledge. These things, it's not as cool and fancy as like giving you the next best thing for, the stem cells of your body, which we've had that before, right? We talked about the biofield a little bit, right? So we can do those kind of things. However, tonight's an important one because I see it every day, because we want to change our lives. We want to change the program, right? We want to change that program because everyday work, right? My office staff was making fun of me too this week. They said, we want you to give up black coffee. And I almost ran out of the building. So that's how I've really felt about that. So, and then they were picking on me about, hey, why don't you drive different to work? I'm like, oh, you're right about that one too. So these are things, though. 1% Tribe, it's an amazing thing to just add a few pieces. And tonight, if you just did the hamstring and the piriformis and just felt, not worried about how stretchy you are, right? I've met a few of you. You're not going to beat anybody in yoga, okay? It's not going to happen, right? I don't care. But I'll give you an example of this. Okay. So I had a 90-year-old man come in, and he comes in, once every 6 months or so. One of the things that's fascinating about this guy, he never talks about his low back. It's always like something he injured or whatever. Well, when the first time I met him, we did the leg checks and all those kind of things. Well, when I did his hamstrings, he was super tight, like super tight low back. Like his hamstrings almost didn't get off the floor, right? Which led him to a few other things. However, here's what's crazy. He never had back pain. You know why? Because both of those really tight hamstrings were even. That should mind blow everybody. It's not that your hamstrings are tight or your hamstrings are too loose. It's that they're different. Okay. So that asymmetry is the problem. It always has been. It always will be. It's always one of those major things that if you get the asymmetry balanced, and sometimes you need help, maybe, helping with the therapist. If, like coming into our office, the massage therapist, Amy, my chiropractic assistant, finds all kinds of imbalances, right, that we can work on as we go. But these are things, these little imbalances, if we don't test them, I could adjust you till the cows come home if you're still doing it. One that I always laugh about that we do, that's kind of easy because I have a wife that does this and kid and, those kind of things. The ladies that sit on their leg, they have one leg they sit on, they actually cause their own short hamstring on the one side because their leg's up, right? So let's say a good example is so she's sitting on that leg for, let's say, a whole movie, right? So what happens? If you don't use it, you lose it. So then your body, if your leg is short, if I kept my bicep like this all night, what's going to happen when I extend? Give me a night of just doing this all night long. What's going to happen to the muscle? Your body is so smart, it will actually contract and start shortening that, people. That's how fast this moves. So now go to the same job every day for months and months and months, the same job over and over and over again, and do the same movement pattern. What's going to happen? All of the muscles are going to react to different things. So your job has got to be to get up to the self-awareness point of when you stretch, what do you feel? What do you feel? That's much more important than, than where you're at flexibility wise. Not some of us aren't going to win in yoga, the yoga athlon. There's no chance. However, we can win with understanding those imbalances and understanding where that goes and how well you do. And so that's what's so cool about holistic health. There's so many little things that we can work on. And this is one of them that's super easy. 5 breaths on 2 hamstring stretches and 5 breaths on piriformis. 20 breaths, right? 20 breaths in the morning. And if you want it, so you could be out the door with all your stretches done, 10 minutes. 10 minutes and your body is ready to go with that, so hopefully this will make sense to you. So remember, piriformis, hamstring, iliopsoas, right? Remember that one. It's the kneeling one. You kind of lean forward a little bit. It's fantastic. A lot of energetic, holistic work goes with that iliopsoas. We talked about your levator scapula, where you're kind of turning, right? Crossing, pulling, but kind of going behind the ear a little bit, right? Coming in either side. Beautiful. The upper cervical, you push back, make this huge double chin, and you can pull up on the back side. Maybe turn one side, pull up, stretch out, right? So start working those spots that you have issues, and you will feel the imbalance in either side. Shoulders, great example of shoulders. It's not about how flexible you are. It's how those are different from each other. Okay. Traps, same thing, right? Traps, Remember all that. Go right from your toes all the way up to your upper neck behind your ears. And then you'll know, and you're talking, you'll have 7 minutes invested of your day. And I promise you, it could be a really, really good investment for you, on top of all the other cool stuff you can do from the 1% Tribe. So tonight, I think that is it, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for watching. I love doing this. We're getting up there in our viewership, which I love. And I can't wait till the chat starts going crazy. That will be sweet. Amy couldn't be here tonight because she was wiped out. That's how it goes. But other than that, remember too, when you watch the playback of this, if you have any topics of interest, put it in the comments. I'd love to go after that. I'm working on one now from somebody that put it the topic in the chat. So I would love your feedback on all of it. And for that, my friends, we are out of here. So have a good night.
Thanks for listening to The Prize Inside. This episode is brought to you by www.heydoc.shop, an online shop where you can get products recommended and used by chiropractors. While you are there, explore a wide selection of videos on various subjects in holistic health and vitality. Also, don't forget to join us on Sundays at 8 p.m. Eastern for our 1% Tribe Live. You can be part of the conversation by joining our Substack at www.tribe1.substack.com.